What is good, YouTube? Welcome back for another video. You know what time it is. Hope everyone's had a fantastic New Year's Eve. Happy New Year to everyone. Wish everyone more blessings, more gains in 2021. Bit of a different video. I thought I'd do a compilation of price predictions by some of the most prominent people in the cryptocurrency space. And yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys, from the likes of Anthony Pompliano to Tim Draper, Tom Lee. So yeah, let's get into the video.
Clearly, Bitcoin and our interest in Bitcoin is tied to Fed policy and the rampant money printing that's going on. In terms of our mutual funds, we are not yet effective with the SEC, so we're still waiting. Of course, we made the decision to start allocating toward Bitcoin when Bitcoin was at 10,000. It's a little more challenging with the current price closer to 20,000. Amazing, over a very short period of time, how big of a run-up we've had. But having said that, our fundamental work shows that Bitcoin should be worth about $400,000.
Whoa.
About $400,000.
Whoa.
Oh my God! Wow! Oh my God!
We're going to monitor the market and see how trading goes on valuation, but ultimately look to buy it.
Scott Miner, we want to delay the Fed press conference for this comment by you. How do you frame a 400,000 Bitcoin? How do you get from where we are now out to 400,000? Is it just based on scarcity?
Yeah, right, Tom. It's based on the scarcity and relative valuation, such as things like gold as a percentage of GDP. So, Bitcoin is actually has a lot of the attributes of gold, and at the same time has an unusual value in terms of transaction.
I mean, I know you said you wish you would have done it 4 months earlier. You don't feel like this is a little late, right? I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's watching this and says, okay, now that Skybridge is launching this, or anybody launching it now, maybe that's the top, that it's a little late after it's rallied as far as it's come.
Or we could be at the precursor of an avalanche of institutional investors heading in, not wanting to put it on their balance sheets in 2020, but orders indicating and orders building up from a large swath of institutions for the first quarter of 2021. I think that's the more likely scenario. But listen, this is something that has crashed upwards in the last 2.5 to 3 weeks. Not to say that there won't be volatility. We have a 3-month holding period on this. We're really trying to target our investors to think about this long term. Don't trade it. There's an expression called HODL. Most people in the Bitcoin community know what that means. It just basically means buy and hold it. This is an asset that could go up 2 or 3x from here, in our opinion. And if you look at Bitcoin over the last decade, Scott, you could put a 1 penny in Bitcoin, 99 cents in cash. It would have beaten every other asset class, specifically the S&P 500.
2021 is going to be a lot like 2017, which means Bitcoin should do even better in 2021 than it did in 2020. So something above 300%.
More than 300% return on Bitcoin.
Correct.
Is what you're forecasting. We were just having a conversation about the interplay or the relationship potentially of a weaker dollar and a stronger Bitcoin. Is that part of this thesis? Is that part of your thesis, Tom?
It's going to be part of it for 2 reasons. First, Bitcoin, it's going to be denominated in something. So if the dollar's weakening, but Bitcoin holds its value, then Bitcoin goes up. But the more important effect is this year, we did see a lot of central bank liquidity. The dollar was really strong, surprisingly, for much of the year. But its weakness now really is going to make people think, how do you sort of keep a unit in sound money? A lot of people thought gold would be that sort of store, and I think it still has a reasonable basis to be, for someone to be long gold. But I think for younger folks and those who are in the digital generation, Bitcoin is that digital asset that they want to hold as a store value.
2018, and then obviously in Q1 of this year, Bitcoin got creamed. It got cut in half on both instances. And so just help us and I guess the viewers understand a little bit, one of the kind of bull cases is that store of value, also that uncorrelated nature to traditional risk assets. Why do you think we had those sorts of corrections at that point, those crashes, and what bars it from happening this time around after such a large rally in Bitcoin over the last 6 months or so?
Yeah, Dan, it's a good point. And, we have to keep in mind Bitcoin's holder base is still tiny. I don't think there's even really more than 1 million real people that own Bitcoin compared to nearly 1 billion people that own other financial instruments. So it's tiny. The penetration's 1/1000, so where it should be.
Mike, if we have the same conversation a year from today, so Christmas Eve, 2021, the upside in your mind for where the price of Bitcoin could be and the downside of what the price could be.
Listen, Bitcoin right now is about 3% of gold. I think it can easily be 10% of gold. So that's 65,000, 60,000. I don't think that's hard. I just see that many new participants coming into the market. Downside, I'd be really upset if it was below 14,500. That would probably mean, in a good sense, that the economy has roared back much faster than people thought, right? Vaccine comes, huge surge of the economy, and whoever's running the Fed, Chairman Powell or his successor, says, oops, maybe we were a little too pessimistic, and maybe we're going to have to raise rates sooner. At that point, I think all assets are going to come lower.
Yeah, I think the important thing to remember about Bitcoin is a fixed supply asset. And so supply and demand, economic supply. And so if there's increases in demand, you're going to see price move up. I think that by the end of 2021, we'll see it eclipse $100,000. And really that's just driven by more institutional interest and then also a lot more global instability that we're seeing kind of the early days of today.
If it does hit that $100,000 target that I know you have over the next 2 years, do you expect the price of Bitcoin to remain pretty volatile?
It'll definitely remain volatile, right? If you think of how networks like this grow, they have these kind of mini boom and bust cycles. So we'll see a lot of, in a parabolic move upwards, we'll see kind of 20 to 40% drawdowns. We saw one of those already this year, kind of a move from 3,800 or so on up to almost 14,000, drew back down around 10, and then we'll kind of continue up from here. And I think that also to remember is there's more macro trends as well. So we've already seen 3 bear markets where we've drawn down more than 80%. And so you just have to remember volatility is not necessarily a bad thing. You need volatility for price appreciation. It's just market timing. And so you got to have a long-term view for a volatile asset like this. If you've bought Bitcoin on any day since the very first day it ever was liquid and you held it for 3.5 years, you've made money in terms of US dollar price. And so I think it really rewards people who have a low time preference. And so what we're seeing is if you want to trade around, you want to have this short-term time preference, then you're more likely to get caught in volatility. But that long time preference and supply-demand economics take over and price continues to appreciate.
One was 650%. So another 650% rally. In this current rally right now, I can't believe I'm going to go out on CNBC and say this, but it's about 74,000. Now, if it wants to fall short,
74,000. Hold on. Everyone sit down. Everybody sit down.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But and then again, the Elliott wave goes very well with this Fibonacci multiples. If it does want to fall short, it can go to 61% of that target, which is only at 34,000, Eric.
Well, that's much more reasonable. All right, 34,000 we can handle. We're going to bring Mark in here. That's a lot to process. What's your take on some of the huge numbers that we just heard just now?
I'll tell you, Eric, I can't comment on Fibonacci and Elliott wave, so I'll tell you what I'm experiencing firsthand. Look, I've had friends and clients asking about Bitcoin for years now. My take has always been it's speculative. But at the same point in time, I've always had to own some. It's like a FOMO concept for me, right? If I never owned any and Bitcoin hits 100,000 per coin, I'd probably cry myself to sleep every night for the rest of my life if I didn't own some, right? So I've also told clients that the amount I own would not change my life if Bitcoin for some reason would go to zero. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but at the same point in time, if it's a speculative investment, you want to make sure that it wouldn't change your life if it goes the wrong way. The thing that's always held me back from being an outright Bitcoin bull has really been this lack of widespread adoption. But now you have PayPal and Square. You mentioned Fidelity. There's Robinhood. These guys are all entering the crypto game. So adoption's happening, and those users, those PayPal and Square users, they're buying more Bitcoin than what's actually hitting the market on a daily basis. So it's all supply and demand. Eric, you can kind of compare this to Tesla, right? I mean, Tesla's up over 500% this year. In my opinion, I got to go with Todd here. I think Bitcoin could potentially be the Tesla of 2021. It could, in my most bullish case possible, get to 100K by the end of next year. That'd be my bull case. I think my base case is a little closer to it, doubling up to about 40K by the end of 2021.
I think Bitcoin in 2022 or at the beginning of 2023 will hit 250,000. And that is a big move from where it is here. And I think that the reason there is that Bitcoin will be the currency of choice. I mean, right now you have this choice, and Bitcoin's not as easy to move around, but eventually it will be. And then you'll have a choice and you'll say, hey, do I want to pay the banks 2.5% to 4% every time I swipe my credit card, or do I want a currency that's frictionless, open, transparent, global, and not tied to any political force? I mean, this is, at some point, people are going to make that switch and Bitcoin is going to be the big winner.
People, let's say they're watching now, like, you know what, maybe I should have gotten in, I've missed this thing. Should they be chasing this thing now? But if you guys are throwing out numbers like 35, 40, 75, 100 grand, so what do you tell somebody that's like, am I chasing this right now? I don't want to be down 50% in a month.
But what I've been telling people who feel like maybe they're getting in a little too late is you kind of got to leg in. So dollar cost averaging, always resorting back to that very simple strategy of investing.
If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. It helps push the video out to more people and helps with the YouTube algorithm. So don't be greedy. Ensure that your cousin, auntie, uncle, sisters, barber's dog get to see the video. Hopefully it will bring more gains for everyone. Don't be living in a massive mansion, enjoying the views, the ambiance, the scenery, whilst your cousin, sister, uncle is stuck in a den. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.